Christopher, it's such a pleasure to talk to you about this film. First of all, you've written the most innovative script of all time, Usual Suspects, so you must like those stories that are different every time. How much do you look out for the new ideas?
I'm looking out for them all the time. Everything I read, everything I watch, just walking down the street, everything is constantly a new idea.
You get inspired by travel, by people around you?
I'm so sorry.
So sorry. Ah, okay, sorry.
The cowbell.
It's kind of a nice sound effect. Yes, I love Usual Suspect, and I think it was probably the movie that made me want to be a film journalist. Like,
oh, wow.
I remember sitting down, I was about 16 at the time, sitting down in the screening room for like 2 minutes after it was finished. I just couldn't believe what I had seen.
Oh, thank you.
It's one of those just turning point films, I think. Yeah.
It's 20 years old next month.
Is it already 20 years old?
Yes,
Oh
I can't believe it. Somebody told me that recently and I was...
It's incredible.
Yeah.
But it will never age. It will always be so
I
current.
hope so. I hope so.
Now we're ready again.
We're
Okay,
ready
you want
again.
to start again?
No, we were talking about the inspirations in your life. You walk down the streets, you travel locations. So for a movie like Mission Impossible, it's always great, technically, to be all around the world and think of places where you'd like to film it. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, that's the wonderful thing about it is you get to go places you've never been and take people with you. And anything I could imagine was on the table. So we knew, I'm a huge fan of the film Casablanca, and I hadn't seen a movie shot there in a long time, so off we were, and that location was very inspiring, and of course Vienna with the Opera House here was another great inspiration.
Well, our viewers in Morocco are going to be so delighted that you're talking about their locations so well, because they were so excited to have you there. So was it easy? Was it an easy process, especially that you filmed most of the difficult scenes there, you know?
Yes, we shot the car
and motor
chase
chases,
there. Yeah, and it was a very complicated sequence, but yes, it was very easy in that the people were incredibly friendly, incredibly warm. We're racing right through people's neighborhoods, and we did it without incident. Everybody was really wonderful, and we met a lot of wonderful people while we were there.
And talk about wonderful people, how much does it help to have a collaborative, immersive movie star in the movies that you direct and write? You know, Tom Cruise is always there, he's always so available.
Oh, it's great. I mean, he's always got your back, and he's always pushing you to do more than you would normally do. He has great ideas, got great creative instincts, and at the same time, he trusts me and he lets me run. So it's a lot of fun. He
gets a run for his money in this film because Rebecca Ferguson is very kick-ass, if I can say that on television. She's so great. You know, was she a total discovery, and did she do more than you thought she would? Yes,
she's really wonderful and really was a great discovery. We found her at the very last minute and really didn't know what the role was until we saw her. And as soon as I started speaking to Rebecca, I knew exactly how to write the role.
Yeah, it made for really an equal leading lady. You know, they kind of drive the film together.
Yes, and that's very much what we wanted. We'd seen movies in which we'd seen mission movies where he'd had a relationship with his wife, or he'd had relationships with other women who were on the team, and this time we wanted somebody who was outside the team and sort of challenged Ethan, and Rebecca really did that in a wonderful way.
It's been nearly 20 years of Mission Impossible films. What in your mind keeps them enduring and interesting for the audience every time?
I think they're a kind of wish fulfillment. You know, that these movies are, in every one of these movies, Ethan gets to do something superhuman, but he's not a superhero. He gets to fly, levitate, be invisible, but there's always technology behind it, and it always feels like it could almost be real.
Well, talking about that, Tom is always, you know, good sport in terms of stunts. He always wants to do much more than I'm sure health and safety on set wants him to do.
Always.
So do you try to, you know, retain him a little bit, or you just let him do whatever he wants?
No, I stopped doing that a long time ago. Now when he suggests an idea, I'm right away like, okay, let's see how we can do that.
Yeah, let's just, you know, dive you in water and keep you there for many, many crazy minutes?
Yes, of course.
What were the most challenging stunt scenes to film?
Every stunt had its own unique challenges. It's hard to pick just one that was the most challenging. I mean, obviously the A400 was very challenging in terms of just the logistics and the engineering that went into being able to shoot that sequence. The underwater sequence was really a challenge for not only what it did to Tom physically, but creating the environment that it was in. And the car chase was logistically a huge operation. We had to build cameras that didn't exist. Almost all the equipment that we used in that sequence was made by hand.
And you were in the Vienna Opera House as well, filming real time. How was it? How did it work?
Well, that it was a combination of things. We shot in, on, and around the Opera House, but we were actually only inside the Opera House for a very short time. The whole backstage and stage we had to build on a soundstage back in London. So it was very complicated. It was shot in 2 different countries, and it was spread out over the entire production. In fact, the very first shot of the movie and the very last shot of the movie were both in the opera sequence.
And is London a friendly environment to film in? There's so many, you know, beautiful
London,
scenes.
Oh yes, London's fantastic. Not only great scenery, but wonderful facilities, wonderful crew, really great environment for a filmmaker. It couldn't be better.
Do you feel that this one is mostly about friendship? That's what Tom said, and I kind of agree, because he's kind of so following his instinct as, you know, Ethan Hunt, etc., trusting the people he instinctively wants to.
Yeah, I think all of the movies are about the team and about teamwork and the team as family. And what we did here was sort of brought together elements of the team from all of the movies, kind of brought together a super group of Ving Rhames and Jeremy Renner and Simon Pegg and obviously Tom, and then introduced a variable into that, somebody from outside the team, and it's a question of whether or not she can be trusted.
Yeah, no, exactly, and then it's a, you know, kind of that question that holds us the whole movie. It's like the MacGuffin of the film. It's so fun.
A little bit.
How much are you ahead of the audience, knowing what their expectations are for films like that? Obviously, there's been many Mission Impossible films. Do you know what they like and what they don't, and do you listen to it? Well,
yes, and you try as best you can to bring what people like and expect from Mission Impossible, but you're walking that fine line where you don't want to repeat anything that anybody else has done. At the same time, you don't want to disregard the other movies. So there's a really careful balance of keeping the spirit of those other movies alive while you're bringing something completely new to it.
Tom Cruise has become the ultimate movie star. What qualities does he have that make him so enduring? Because I think that's the most relevant thing.
I think the 2 most important qualities are he is the hardest working man in show business and the most positive. And he just always keeps it very positive and always keeps pushing you to do more than you thought you could do.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's the feeling I have every time I meet him anyway. As a film fan yourself, what were the movies that informed you as a filmmaker, as a writer?
Oh, there were so many, and their influences are all over this movie. I'm a huge fan of the spy movies of the 60s and 70s. One of the movies we talked about a lot in this while we were making this, for some of the look of it, was The Parallax View with Warren Beatty, 3 Days of the Condor, and of course all the other Mission movies. They were all an inspiration.
Is it action films that you feel that the audiences relate to the best because they want to be that normal superhero?
Yeah, I think audiences relate to a good story. I think whether it's an action film or a drama or a comedy, if you have a good story and good characters, if you're really invested in your characters, they'll come.
Did you feel that you had a good story when you wrote Usual Suspect? Were you unsure?
I knew I had an ending. I knew, I was always working towards that ending. Honestly, when Bryan Singer and I made that film, we didn't think we were making it for anybody but ourselves. And we were really surprised that so many people responded to it so positively.
Yes, and awards and all these things. So do you remember this as a great time?
Oh yeah, it was a wonderful time. It was a wonderful time.
And what made you want to also direct as well? What in directing gives you a side of the artistic job that you don't have in writing?
It's just another kind of storytelling. Writing is one sort of storytelling, editing is another, directing is yet another. And with each film, I'm growing and I'm getting better at it. I think I'm getting a little more efficient at it. And I love telling stories, and any way I can do them is great.
That's true. You're traveling the world with all the premieres of Mission Impossible. What kind of things do fans say usually? You know, what kind of enthusiasm do you feel from them everywhere? Obviously, you're all screaming for Tom, but that's like a given.
No, it's an enthusiasm for the movies and for movie making, and it's really wonderful traveling around the world and meeting all those people and seeing just how excited they are. I grew up loving movies, and there's always talk that people aren't interested in movies anymore, and that there's other things taking their interest away, and I'm just glad to see people are still just crazy for movies. That's the way I was growing up, and I still am.